what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be doing a gun overview video on my gun and some of the upgrades that I've done to it. First off, let's start. I have a retro arm selector switch. I'm just going to go over some of the aftermarket stuff. I'll go into the gearbox eventually, but I'm just going to do the external parts for now. Then I'll get into the internals. So this is a retro arms selector switch. It's very nice. It is made out of aluminum. It is a thicker selector switch. I don't know if you can tell, but it is thicker, which makes it easier when you're holding it to switch it from this, because normally with my other one it was hard, but now it's super easy to switch back and forth. I have a knockoff Strike Industries aluminum foregrip. This one is half the cost and just as nice. It's made out of aluminum with a powder coat black on it. It is super nice, makes it easy to hold. There's multiple different ways you can hold it. For my scope, I have a Valken Outdoors 1x30 ST red dot. So that is this. It comes with two covers, but they, in my opinion, they're trash because they don't exactly stay on that well. I have also put plexiglass on the front just in case there's BB that gets hit there. And for my riser, I have a Filand low profile Picatinny riser that is this riser right here. Now some people think that this scope is just one thing and this right here, this wheel, is to take the scope off, but this scope is actually just this right here. That is the bottom of the scope, and this is where the Picatinny riser starts. And that, I like having my scope raised. One of my friends has a scope and his is right on his standard Picatinny, and I don't like it that much because you have to get your face super low down to the stock of your gun to be able to see through it. Now, some people, you see where my pointer finger is, that is how tall their riser will be. I like guns like that because you literally, sometimes you don't even have to put your head or your cheek on the stock. You can just bend your head over a little bit and see it. Mine, I have to kind of put my cheek on my stock a little bit. That's because I have the single riser on here. I don't have a super big riser, but that is why I have that on there. I did put electrical tape on my grip because this grip has no grip on it. So I put some electrical tape on there for if my hands are cold or if I'm playing and my hands get really sweaty. It's super easy to hold on to here. Down here I have some Velcro for my pressure switch for my flashlight, which I attach on this side, weave my pressure switch back and then up to here, so then I can hold it and use my thumb. That is how I recommend doing everything, and it's really nice with this on here. And in my opinion, I would have mine farther back a little bit, but I had this on here before I got this foregrip. But it's nice because then you can hold it and you can turn your flashlight on and off with your thumb, because normally with these, unless you're holding it like this, your thumb will be over the top. For my flash hider, this is a flash hider that actually came with Trevor's SEMA Platinum that I actually have a gameplay with me playing. And he got a suppressor for it and had to take the flash hider off. And I didn't like my orange flash hider that much because it was just plastic. So this one is a metal. It's a 3-prong flash hider. Let's see, take it off real fast. This is solid metal threads, negative threads. So it's solid metal, really nice. It's also really nice because if you see with some flash hiders that you can get that are standard, with this, you see there's a gap right here and right here and another one on the other side, because is the 3 prongs on it. And that makes it really nice because if you drop your gun or you stick your gun into the dirt and this gets filled with the dirt, on a normal flash hider, if you've never taken it off, you have to completely take your top receiver off and then take your inner barrel out. and attempt to get all that mud out of there. That's why I like this one, because you can just take a stick or something and pull it right out. Sometimes you can get lucky and you can shoot it and it'll shoot it past through the mud with the BB, but if it's super thick mud, it will not do that. For my motor, I have done some upgrades. I was going to do a video on this, but I didn't. For my motor, just 1 second, I'll try and take this bottom plate off here. It is, here we go. For my motor, I use an ASG 40K boost motor. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this is a 40K boost motor. This is sold on like Airsoft websites everywhere. I bought this one off of Umbrella Armory because they're the #1 Airsoft, like best Airsoft guns you can buy anywhere. So I bought this off there. You can buy this off ASG or Evike. But this is, I think it was only like $40. But this is, doesn't make sense, but this is a high-speed, high-torque motor, which means it acts as a high-speed motor, but it also acts as a high-torque motor. So it will not pull super strong springs back. Like I had to buy, because this is DSG build, I'll get to that in a minute. But I bought an M170 spring, which is like 3 springs away from the strongest spring you can buy for an airsoft gun. And I thought this was a high torque motor because that's what it said on the website. And it turns out it's a high speed, high torque, so it could not pull back the M170. So that is just, if you're wanting to do a DSG build, I'm warning you on that. This is a super good motor for a DSG build. Though I will link all the parts to my gun and external parts in the description, so you guys can check that out. Now, I'm going to do a quick demo and take the gearbox out of my gun, and I will show you guys the inside of my gun once I get that done. Okay, so I took the external parts, all of them, off my gearbox. One of the things that I want to note for you guys, so you know, I had put new motors in our other guns, and so here's the motor, here's the grip. Now this big hole in the middle is where the motor or the pinion gear comes through. Now you can see on mine how it comes through there, and it like works freely and comes in and out. On the other guns, actually I take a little bit of sandpaper, put in the hole, and spin it out a little bit, because this hole worked for the default motor, but the other motor would go through and it would just get stuck. So you want to make sure that when you're doing it, that your motor moves completely freely through here, so you can stick it in and out super easy, and it comes right back out. So you want to make sure that you do that with this if this is super tight, because it is very, very important. Okay, so on to the gearbox. If you guys are wondering how to take this gearbox apart, I will link this video in the description. It'll also be in the top right of the corner. I did a gearbox demo video on how to completely take apart your gun and take apart your gearbox. Now that video is 40 minutes long. It's because I go through everything. You're probably wondering, like, on airsoft videos, how long it takes people to take apart their guns, to do reviews like this that I'm doing. I take apart my guns weekly, and I can take this gun apart, like the gun down to what it is right here, and take the whole gearbox apart like I'm going to do in a minute, do some maintenance on it, oiling, cleaning, stuff like that, and put it all back together in 30 minutes, which is super fast. That's about 15 minutes to take it apart and 15 minutes to put it back together. So most of my stuff is actually aftermarket, because I've had this gun for almost 2 years now. And after a year, you want to go through and start changing some of your parts out. So this selector plate right here is aftermarket because it has this heat shield on it, which some MOSFETs or trigger units actually have to have this on there for light sensors. Make sure that when you are taking your gun apart, that if you can take your spring out first before taking your gearbox apart, do that. Now, this is the default spring because like I said, the M170 spring did not work, so this is my default spring. I have an M125 and M135 on the way, so I'm hopefully going to use one of those, because right now this gun chrono is about 38 RPS on 135 FPS because of the DSG, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I'm going to do a quick time lapse right here to take this gearbox apart. Okay, so I got all these screws out. Now, what you're going to do once you get these screws out is you're going to want to take a flathead screwdriver, and up here by where your nozzle is, there should be a gap around it maybe, and you're just going to take your screwdriver and pry it apart. Now, mine is used to coming apart, so mine just comes apart really easily. When you're taking it apart, you want to make sure that these right here, you can see the gear, like the parts for the gear, I can't remember the card. Make sure that they are pushed down in, because sometimes they'll get stuck and they'll be pulled out when you take the top shell off. Okay, so my top shell is off. Now I'm going to set this to the side. Also, I'm going to link this mat in the description because this mat is awesome and I love it. It's got magnets up here, but I'll link that in the description for any of my tech people out there that want to get this mat. So this is the inside of my gearbox. I would say probably about 30% of this is not stock, and about 70% of it is stock. So, first of all, I'm going to take my gears out. It's really nice because there's so much room on here that you can put literally everything. This is an aftermarket trigger. This is the stock trigger spring. This is, it's on Umbrella Armory. It's their custom CNC J-type trigger. I think that's what it's called. You can find it on there if you go to their internal parts list. That's where this is where I got like all of my parts. So this trigger is really nice because this is CNC aluminum. So it's super light and it's really nice. Now, my piston is probably wondering, this does not have that many teeth on it. If you're a tech person and you're used to taking gearbox apart and you know how many teeth on there, that's not that many teeth. So this is the standard piston head. This is piston from Umbrella Armory. Again, I'll link all my stuff in the description. Now, what I had to do was I had to actually cut these off. That's why it's discolored like that. Because with a DSG, here, let me actually take my DSG out. So DSG stands for dual sector gear. SSG stands for single sector gear. So this is the DSG. See if you can see that. Now with a standard SSG, these teeth will normally be from like here to probably actually like right here. And that would be the cycle of your gear. And this is a DSG, which means it's a dual sector gear, so it has the exact same amount as teeth, but they're on each side, which means, get this in here, that when this piston is in here, this is why you have to cut them down. When this piston bends, or this sector gear, see it grabs the piston all the way through those teeth, and then when it comes back, that's why you want a heavier spring than your standard spring. So it slams this forwards, and then it's going to come back again in half the time it would normally take with the single sector gear or the SSG. So this is how you get a super, super fast speed. So my standard, when this gun was stock, it was shooting about 13 RPS on 315 FPS. And by me changing my motor and this gear, I went from 13 RPS on 315 FPS to 38 RPS just from this motor and gear. I know you're probably going to ask why my FPS is so low. That's because on an SSG, this piston is going to come all the way back here, like all the way back here, and then go forwards. But on here, it's only going halfway and then slamming forwards. That's why you want a stronger spring, so it gets all the way down super fast. Now, my problem is that I'm having right now, because I don't have a super strong spring, is when my SSG or my DSG is spinning back, it's pulling this piston back. By the time my next cycle comes back, it actually clips this last tooth right there and goes from there because I don't have a super strong spring. Now, once I get the stronger spring, this should all be fine, and just like it'll be normal gun again. But that is why you have to cut this down. So what you want to do is put this in here, spin your gear till the last tooth on your gear meets the last tooth. So if you can see this right there, how they're right beside each other. And then you want to mark the tooth after that, and you can cut all of that off because that's not needed anymore. I've seen some people, it's not professional, but what they'll do is they'll cut 2 teeth out instead of all of them, which is a really complicated thing to do, but they just don't want to cut all their teeth off if they want to go back to an SSG, and so they can actually have a normal gun, because you can do an SSG and get a super fast motor and all this other stuff and make it as fast as this DSG, but it's going to be a lot more expensive. Now, I'm going to grab my other motor, or my other piston, real fast to show you what that would look like. So when I bought my parts, I bought an extra piston. So this is the extra piston. You can see all the teeth on this compared to all the teeth on that. You can see how many cut off. So what people do is they'll just go with the teeth they need and then cut 2 of the other teeth off. Where what I have done is I have cut all of my teeth off, which is just an easier way. But I bought this extra one in case I wanted to ever go back to an SSG and upgrade my SSG to be a super fast SSG, or maybe even a DMR. Now, towards the end of January, it's kind of a little spoiler, but I'm going to be doing another review, and I'm going to have some crazy, insane parts in this thing. So we've gone over the SSG and the piston head. The other parts I changed out was this Tapit plate. So this Tapit plate is gray. My other one was red. That's why my nozzle is red. But you can see this is really short. I mean, if you're not a tech person, you really won't know. But this is short because, again, it's going a half stroke. So when this is on here, it's down, it's here. You probably can't see this. But when it comes back, it's got to snap back. And this has to be able to rest right here. If you had a standard one, it would be under this, and this would completely mess up your gun. So those are basically all of the parts that I have changed basically over the time I've had this gun. Now, one of the things you're going to want to watch is with your cutoff lever. I have had my brother actually, he's trigger happy, and he is actually eaten into his cutoff lever. Now you can see mine is discolored, but that's because it's just discolored. That's what it should actually look like. His actually took off like a quarter, this will focus, like a quarter of this front part, which you do not want to happen. If that happens, that means you're shooting your gun way too fast, and your gun is going to be crazy, and it's going to start overspinning because this cutoff lever is not engaging and shooting all the way back like it should. So that is basically all I have, because that's all I've put in my gun. Now, like I said, towards the end of January, beginning of February, you guys need to watch, because I'm going to have another video coming out, and it's going to be with some crazy, insane parts that I've put in my gun. So you guys, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you'll be notified when that comes out. Now remember, gear, like all my parts, I'm going to categorize this. My internal parts will be in the description, and my external parts will also be in the description under a different category. I will link my Gearbox demo in the description also. It'll also be on the top right of the screen. Thanks for being, guys, and I'll see you next time.